Yay, I'm back! I have taken some time out in the last weeks and I haven't really been live, but here I am today talking around the topic of attraction and dating and why so many of us often feel like we're dating the wrong person. So this live today is inspired by the fact that I live currently in a house with about 4 or 5 women together. And we share a lot of our relational dynamics and what's coming up. So often we find ourselves sitting in the staircase or just talking across rooms and speaking about our adventures in love. And what I'm observing a lot in my discoveries or in my listening to these wonderful women that I live with is that there's this pattern re-emerging where we are falling in love with a certain person and then the story repeats itself. Something repeats itself that we have experienced before with other people and we wonder why this is happening and all these fears are coming up, and often the situation kind of ends up like it always ends up. And maybe you've experienced this before yourself. Let me know in the comments if you've had experiences where even though you've met different kinds of people, the same relational knot occurs, the same relational issue comes back up. It's like a different colored jumper, but it's still a jumper that you're wearing. And so you're meeting these people and somehow the same thing happens. And I want to speak to that today. First of all, to shed a bit of light why this is happening and then in the second part, how and what you can do to really listen to the call of that. Listen to the call that is beyond that knot, that is beyond that painful story, and heal, because that's really the invitation. So let me speak to first, why is this happening? Why do we constantly, or why so many of us often have this idea that we're dating the wrong person? Like, why do they trigger us? Why do these people bring up so much stuff inside of ourselves? So the reason for that is that attraction is a very interesting and kind of primal thing. So when you grow up as a child, you form a picture of love inside of your brain. That it's an image that your brain forms that is the thing that you understand as love. So it puts the image of your caretakers, the image of your parents into one space and stores it there. This is how you receive love, this is how you will give love. In some way, this is how you're training your nervous system, or how your nervous system got trained as a child to know what love is. Obviously, most of us don't grow up with the most loving parents because in this world, there's not a lot of really conscious parents out there. So we all, in some way, grow up traumatized. We grow up as children not really knowing what love is because we haven't received enough, we haven't gotten enough, we haven't given enough, because we've not been in an environment that's been actually nurturing for our hearts. And most of us don't even know that that is the case, because as children we idealize our parents and we think they're gods and goddesses and that they did the best they can. And they did, of course, they did the best they could. But nonetheless, it injures our small, little, precious souls, children's souls. So we grow up and then we have all these wounds inside. And that now attraction comes in. So now the piece around being drawn to somebody of the same sex, different sex, doesn't matter. But we all of a sudden have this urge to connect with somebody. Why do we have that urge? It is because your brain actually puts your caretakers, your parents, into the same category as it puts your partners. So your brain doesn't categorize people after names or positions in your life. It puts them into these categories, like partners and parents are in the same category. So when you feel attraction, what are you actually attracted to is similar, is aspects of your parents. You will feel attraction to people who have some similarities to what you've received as love when you were small. So that's why we think things like, oh, it feels like I've known him forever. Oh, I think it feels so familiar. Because in some way your brain is giving you these signals that you've known this person forever. Because in some way you have. Your parents you've known for your whole life. So your whole system ramps up and it's getting into this this space of like, oh, recognition, there's somebody that could give me what I wanted as a child. There's somebody who can complete me. There's somebody who's giving me that illusion. And of course, you're not thinking that consciously, but your body is reacting to that with the chemistry and all of the feel-good emotions that come up when we fall in love. This is the reason. Your body is remembering the sweetness of the love that you were wanting to give, that you were wanting to receive from your parents. Sorry. Now, obviously, often these people that we're attracted to, they have the same kind of wounds. So actually, you are also reflecting something for them that they have picked up in their childhood. So now two wounded people see an illusion, see something beautiful in each other, see the possibility of merging in love and finding love, and we fall in love, and we have these beautiful ideas and these projections, and we see with pink glasses, in some way we see the truth. But we are so besotted and we are not conscious enough to see through the illusions that then after some time comes the time where the illusions break, and we see the parts that we weren't so attracted even in our parents, the things that our parents did wrong, they come out in the other person and they merge perfectly with the wounds of our partner. So now we're getting into a dynamic that I call the desert of the relationship. It gets really dry and really ugly there because these wounds are like resonating wounds. And if we don't have consciousness at this point, if you haven't developed your appetite for consciousness in relationship, you will break at this point, because these wounds will resonate and break your hearts apart. It's impossible to understand this stage if you haven't had enough consciousness to bring to the situation and look at why this is happening for you and for your partner. Because in reality, and that is really the beauty of the way life has designed relationships, and I'm completely in awe about this process, is that you are attracted to your parents in the way that, in aspects of your parents, because you're attracted to healing. You're attracted to love that part that hasn't been loved. You're attracted to meet somebody who can trigger that thing, that memory, that part of you that was so hurt. So you now, as an adult, you're no longer a little child. You are grown up enough to look back and bring love to that moment and bring love to you and become more whole. And when you become more whole, you are able to love more deeply. So in reality, when you bring consciousness to your relational struggles, you see them as a gift, not as the wrong thing that's happening again. No, you see it as an invitation to finally look deeper, to finally realize, oh, there's something that I'm still believing about myself that is not true. If you have a belief system that tells you, I'm never enough, you're gonna attract somebody who's gonna flirt with other women. If you have a belief system that you are weak, you're going to attract somebody who's going to make you feel weak, who's going to criticize you for not being a strong man. This is bound to happen. It's relational physics, folks. And if you don't understand this, you will run over and over into relational dynamics that will crush your hearts, because this is what relating is meant to be. It is meant to break us open over and over again. We are not born with mature hearts. We are born with this innate capacity to love, but it gets crushed as we are children. And when we grow up, when we become sovereign adults, when we become beings that are able to look at themselves and reflect into their hearts, the question is, can you open? Can you start loving past your condition? Can you start bringing love to the part of you that is hurt so deeply? Because you are grown up now. You have a responsibility. You have a responsibility for your heart. You have to honor yourself. And the more you start honoring yourself, and the more you start opening in any given situation and showering yourself and your partner with love, the more you will start shifting the relational physics between you. And either you're going to part with that person because he was, or she, or whoever was just there for a little part of the way in order for you to learn something about yourself, or you're actually going to rise with each other and you're going to go to the next level and the next level and the next level. This is a room, a relational room that is to be explored through communication, conscious communication, through contact, through sexuality, and looking at the roots of our being and how we connect. It is a vast field where there's a lot of healing to be done. If you're ready to bring consciousness to it, if your appetite for consciousness is there, then any kind of relationship can start to work. But you gotta see that every struggle that you're facing in your reality, in your reality and in your relationship, is a mirror for you to look at the unconscious things that you are not yet seeing about yourself. Not about the other person. It's so easy in relationships to get lost in, but this person's doing that and it's making... No, why are you attracting a person like that into your life? They are just mirrors to show you something that you can't see. They are treating you like you treat you inside of you. Male, female aspects treating themselves in certain ways. So maybe your male partner is reflecting something to you that your male aspect is always doing to your female aspect. So maybe your creative side is not very outspoken and expressed. So you have a male part inside of you that keeps pushing you with to-do lists, that keeps pushing you down and keeps cutting out your creativity because you are yourself not giving yourself space. So then your partner will play that role for you. Your partner will be the one who gives you lots of to-do lists, who never seems like you never have enough time to do your art. But really, it's your own part. It's the part in you that's not allowing you to be creative. That's not allowing you to go into your feminine expression of dance enough. It is you, it is never somebody else. Once you shift your relationship with you, your relationship on the outside must follow. There is no other way. And if you're still having that reflection, then that reflection is just showing you that you're not yet believing that you are worthy of receiving really what would be good for you, what would be truly good for you. There's a lot of worthiness around this. And we're experiencing our core unworthiness, and we're not allowing ourselves to meet partners that would actually be good for us. And sometimes we meet partners that are amazing for us and we push them away because they would actually rewrite our story. And this is the 3 things that I said in my description. There's something that we do, 3 things that we do after each other in order to prove our story to ourselves. So and I mean the painful story, I mean the stories of trauma. They are so sticky inside of ourselves that literally our ego has a way to recreate the past over and over again because it wants you to prove your story to yourself and to the world, because in some way we get so much from this suffering, don't we? We get so much from this idea that we can say, and then he did that thing again, and now I'm here in my victim, and it's all so, and I'm not so we get so much from suffering like that. So here are the 3 things that we do in order to prove our story to ourselves. The first thing is we select somebody. We select somebody who will prove the story to us. This is usually at when your relational consciousness is not very developed yet. So you will select people over and over again that really aren't matching with you, but they are matching with your story. They are matching with your story of abandonment. So maybe you had an alcoholic father and you will choose an alcoholic partner, and that alcoholic partner will abandon and hurt and whatever. So this is like the selection space when we're literally selecting people who totally play into our story, who totally replay what we've experienced as children. So when you bring a little bit more consciousness to that and you all of a sudden realize, maybe I shouldn't choose people like that anymore. Let me work on myself. And you go a little higher. Now you come into a space, maybe you find somebody, you've selected somebody who's not an alcoholic, who's actually really loving and caring, and who's there. But you have this story of abandonment or abuse in some way. So the next step that your ego will start to do is provoke. So now you're like, here you are feeling actually quite good, and your threshold of feel good is hitting a ceiling. You're like, I'm feeling almost too good, because we do have that in ourselves, in our psyches. We are sometimes so used to suffering that when it gets too good, we're starting to want to brace ourselves. We're wanting to push the goodness away. And that's when we start to provoke, or also called self-sabotaging. And you might have noticed that in yourself, where you start to prod your partner or you start to prod them because you want to prove your story. That if you are just a little nasty right now, if you just activate them a little bit, maybe then they will leave you. Because really and truly, you're not worth being loved fully. So if I just activate a little bit, or if I just take this thing that he just said really, really serious and make a big story about it because it's really working me up, then I can prove to myself that, yes, I will never have a man or a woman or a partner because they always leave. So that's the second stage. Now, maybe you go through this a couple of times and you're relating and you notice, wow, I always end up in these kind of weird scenarios, and there are many of them, of course, many different ones. And you start working on yourself, like, oh, I'm realizing that I keep doing this thing where I'm provoking, where I'm elbowing because I want some sort of pain from this person. Oh, let me work on that. And you go inwards and you release, and you catch yourself before you do it the next time. You're like, oh, there I am doing it again. You maybe learn to express. You learn to speak about, I was like, oh, I need to tell you, sometimes I do that. So you learn that piece. And you're a really good space now. Now maybe you found a person who stayed. So you selected somebody who's good for you, who's also stayed through the provocation. Maybe he or she was able to like, okay, I'm here with you, baby. I see it, but I'm not reacting to that, and I won't leave. I will stay with you through this. And now your system is like, you either soften and you're like, oh, wow, there's somebody, or you go another stage, which is the last stage of your ego trying to prove itself true, which is distortion. So distortion is really difficult to detect yourself, because it's basically a kind of a mechanism where you distort your reality, where you see things that weren't there, or you project stories, or you make things, we bring them out of proportion so much that they start to blow up into completely different stories. Maybe you've experienced yourself like going into a story of jealousy, for example, where your mind is running like mad and you're having all these stories of what he or she might have done right now, and it's like a really distortive thing, and they come back and they just say something and you snap and you say, you did this, and you have this whole story made up, which is completely untrue in most cases. Maybe a little bit is true, but there's like this whole piece of distortion. This is, again, how your ego wants to prove your story to yourself. So how you fall into the trap of bringing that old pain back so you can relive it over and over and over again. And it is up to you to decide when that cycle is finished. When are you ready to really feel the original pain that this pattern is pointing you to? Because really and truly, that's all it wants. It wants to be felt once. It wants to be felt truly once, without avoiding, without running to another person, without running to the next drink or Netflix or whatever you need, whatever your strategies are to avoid this feeling. It wants to be felt once, deeply. The pain of the past just wants to be seen once. When you feel it and see it, it will rush through you, and you have successfully rewired one of your patterns of the conditioning that you received as a child. The depth of the feeling is important, though, because we need the same kind of intensity that we had as a child, the same kind of intensity that the injury occurred in your heart has to be felt once more. When you manage that, you start to climb up the ladder of relational intelligence. You start up to climb up the ladder of relational consciousness, and different people will walk into your life. You will attract different scenarios, different life circumstances will surround you, but only if you develop your appetite for consciousness, meaning seeing that every relationship you are in, and for that matter, everything that happens around you in the world, but your relationships are very intimate, so they really hook the deeper parts of yourself. Every relationship that you encounter is your gift. It is an invitation for you to look at what you are not seeing about yourself. Stop thinking about the other person. Stop wasting another thought on how you have to understand them. You don't have to understand them. You will, of course, in the relational dynamics, you will come into conversation and communication. That's beautiful. But really and truly, your only job is to understand you, to understand why you've attracted this scenario, why you keep feeling so pain, why you keep feeling pain, why you keep feeling frustration, why you keep feeling closed, why you can't open. When you uncovered that, you uncovered the gift, and you can stand in front of your partner no matter how harsh they treated you, and you can say, thank you for showing me this, for leading me into my sovereignty, for becoming so full of love, because I can love you, and I can stand here, and everything that you say to me, even if you think it's hurtful, it doesn't touch me anymore, because I've worked through my shit. And I can love you because I see into the core of your being. I see your heart. I see your soul. I see what you are made of. And that is love. We are all made of love. But that love is covered with scales and old walls of pain that we've plastered around ourselves. It is our job to remove it. As Rumi said, it is our work to discover who we are on the inside, and the outside is only a reflection of the parts that we've plastered in between us and our heart. Your heart wants nothing more than to just love vibrantly, freely, completely, openly, and just shower everything around you with love. That's all a heart wants to do. Ask it. It's easy. I ask my heart every single day. It has never given me another answer than open. Open right now. Let go. Receive. Release. Cry. Be angry, but be it for yourself, for the sense of being open. Break open over and over again. That is the work of the heart. And every single person that you meet is just showing you the path to you, the path down and deep into your soul. Isn't that beautiful? Because once you realize that there is no victimhood anymore, can you feel the sweetness of that truth? That once you step into a relational paradigm that is grounded in everybody is a gift and just showing me what I can't see about myself, then that pathway is so open and so clear. It just makes your belief systems clear. It's like, another one. Don't take them so serious. It's just another belief system. Look at them, cry them, feel them, and let them go. It is not you. You are worth loving. You are worth loving so much more than you can even believe, but you have to start believing it. Because when you do, you're going to meet people that love you in this way, and you're worth it. We are all worth it. We are all worth our own love. And yes, we learn. It's not like you have to love yourself first and you can never love anybody else in between. No, we learn as we are in relational dynamics. We learn to love ourselves more, and we learn to love another. That is a beautiful thing. Loving another is a beautiful pathway to learning how to love yourself too. So don't fall into the trap of I need to work on myself first and I cannot relate. No, relate as much as you can. Find that space and figure out who you are and love yourself more and more and more in the process. So I hope you enjoyed this live. I hope you enjoyed what I've been offering you here today, and hope to see you soon on another session. This is me talking about relationships. I think I'm going to do a little bit more, because I just finished this amazing couples retreat where I was working one-on-one or one-on-two with just one couple, and I over 3 days, and I helped them really dive into their sexuality and uncover what was blocking them. They were together, or they are together, for 24 years, and they came to me, and I was so honored to be invited into their space and be able to help them with reconnecting on so many different levels, and they were just, it was just such a delight for me to be with a couple and work through love and find love over and over again in these different ways. So it's a wonderful work for me, and I am soon going to offer some couples retreats for other couples who might feel the call. But I just really want to share how wonderful this work is for me when we decide to really lift our consciousness in relational dynamics. It is like a gift for the world. We're not doing it just for ourselves. And I said that to the couple as well. You're not doing this work just for you and for your own little container, for this little space that you're inhabiting. No, we're doing relational work for the world right now, because if we can find peace between each other, if we can find peace in these small cells of society where where two hearts come together or more, and we learn to love, this is a great deed. In a time where there's so much polarization, where there's so much distortion on all sides, this is my way of offering my gifts to this world. Have a beautiful day. Keep loving, keep inquiring, keep going inwards. The answers are all inside of you. You don't have to understand the others. You have to understand you and love you.